The wind cut like a knife across the frozen plains. Snow whipped in thick sheets, hiding the ground beneath a blinding white. Kalen stumbled forward, boots slipping on ice, his breath a ragged mist in the frozen air. Every step was a battle, but he had to keep moving. Something alive had to be out there. A distant, heart-wrenching roar cut through the storm. Kalen froze. His heart slammed in his chest. The sound was deep, guttural, full of pain and rage, and yet, strangely sorrowful. He had never heard anything like it. The snow around him trembled with the vibrations, and instinct told him to run. But something stronger than fear rooted him to the spot. Curiosity. And maybe hope. He pushed forward, fighting against the wind. The roar grew louder, closer. Then he saw them, shapes in the storm, massive and trembling. Dragons. A pack of dragons, their scales muted by the snow, eyes glowing faintly in the white blur. They moved in a circle, tight and tense. At their center lay broken shapes, small and motionless. Hatchlings. Dead, he realized with a sudden pang of dread. Kalen's stomach twisted. He had faced storms, wild animals, and hostile terrain before, but the grief he saw in those dragons, it was something he had never felt before. Smoke curled from their nostrils in thin, wavering streams. Their wings flexed and trembled. They wailed, a sound so loud and raw it made the snow shiver. The roar was no longer just a warning, it was a cry of mourning. Without thinking, Kalen stepped closer. His hands instinctively reached for the small pack of fur and scales peeking from under a snowdrift. One hatchling twitched. Alive. The storm had nearly buried it, and its breath came in weak, rapid gasps. Kalen froze for a heartbeat. One wrong move and the dragons might attack. But leaving the hatchling meant death. He took a deep, steadying breath and crouched. "It's okay," he said softly, though he didn't know if they could understand him. "I just want to help." His voice cut through the wind, faint but firm. One of the dragons paused mid-step, head lowering slightly as if listening. Kalen's pulse raced, and he could feel the dragon's suspicion pressing down on him, heavy and sharp. The snow shifted, and a shadow lunged from the edge of his vision. Kalen's heart leapt. Another dragon, larger, eyes wild with grief. It landed a few feet away, claws sinking into ice, wings beating a thunderous rhythm. Roar followed roar, the sound vibrating through his bones. He froze, calculating. Run and risk leaving the hatchling? Or stay and risk death? Decision came in a surge of clarity. He moved toward the hatchling, hands low and open, slow, deliberate. "I'm not a threat," he murmured. The dragon lunged again, and Kalen ducked under its claw, rolling into the snow. He grabbed the hatchling, tucking it close to his chest. Its tiny body shivered, weak but alive. The dragons recoiled, confused by his boldness. Kalen didn't move, didn't speak. He let the wind and snow mask his scent. Slowly, one dragon stepped closer, nostrils flaring, wings tensing, then relaxing ever so slightly. A small victory, almost invisible, but a victory nonetheless. The hatchling whimpered, a faint sound, and Kalen whispered reassurance. Survival, he realized, would come from courage, not speed. Then something strange happened. The snow around them shimmered faintly, almost like light through ice, forming jagged patterns beneath the surface. Kalen's eyes widened. He hadn't noticed before, something unnatural, something glowing faintly under the snow. A crystal? Or some kind of strange alien object buried deep? He didn't have time to wonder. The dragon's attention was back on him, larger shapes circling closer, smoke curling faster from nostrils. A sudden gust of wind slammed into him, nearly knocking him over. One dragon's tail flicked dangerously close. Kalen's arms tightened around the hatchling. His mind raced. He had no weapons, no shield, no reinforcements. Only him, his courage, and a tiny, fragile life depending on him. But he also saw the possibility, the shimmer in the snow, the hesitant step of the dragons. Maybe he could reach them, maybe he could save this hatchling, maybe he could do what no human had before. Lightning flashed across the sky, striking a distant ridge. The snow shimmered even brighter, and for a moment, the dragons froze mid-step. The roar died down to a low, tremulous whine. Kalen's breath caught. The storm, the dragons, the hatchling, all of it was changing, reacting to something he didn't understand yet. He tightened his grip on the tiny body, whispered again, "We'll be okay. Just trust me." The dragon's eyes glinted, their grief still deep but curiosity flickering at the edges. And then, through the roar of wind, he heard it, a soft, almost musical hum from the snow beneath them. The source of the shimmer, the strange energy he hadn't noticed until now. Kalen's heart hammered. What is that? Before he could move closer to investigate, a shadow shifted behind the largest dragon. Kalen glanced up, and froze. Something enormous, something he had not seen yet, was moving in the snow. Bigger than the dragons themselves. The wind carried only the faintest hint of its shape, but he could feel its weight pressing against the world. Kalen tightened his hold on the hatchling. He swallowed hard. His choices were few, but he had already acted. He would face whatever came next. And whatever it was coming fast. Kalen pressed the hatchling closer to his chest, feeling its tiny heartbeat thrum weakly against him. The snowstorm had grown harsher, whipping against his face and biting through his coat. Visibility was nearly zero, but the outline of the massive dragons circling him was clear enough. Each step they took cracked the ice beneath them, and Kalen knew one wrong move could spark a full attack. The unknown shadow from the ridge had vanished, swallowed by the swirling snow, but its presence lingered in the icy air, a weight pressing on his chest. Something else was out there, something bigger than the dragons themselves. He had no idea what it was, or if it was even intelligent, but he couldn't afford to wait and find out. He had to act. One of the dragons, smaller than the rest, crept closer to him, smoke curling from its nostrils in anxious puffs. Its eyes, wide and wet with grief, flicked between the hatchling and Kalen. He could see its confusion, its anger, its pain. Kalen knelt slowly in the snow, hands open, showing nothing to hide. "I'm not going to hurt it," he said, voice low but firm, carrying through the wind. The dragon froze mid-step, nostrils flaring, then stepped back slightly. A small victory, but only small. The storm's roar was deafening, but Kalen could hear something else. A faint, high-pitched chime coming from the shimmer beneath the snow. The crystalline glow pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. He didn't understand it, but instinct told him it was important. He needed to reach it without angering the dragons. If he could figure out what it was, maybe it could calm them. He shifted slightly, testing the ice under his boots. The dragons watched every movement. He inched closer to the shimmer, careful to keep the hatchling safe against his chest. The smallest dragon let out a soft, curious hiss. Kalen froze. He met its gaze, unflinching, and slowly nodded toward the glowing patch. "See this?" he whispered. "This is safe. This will help us." The alpha dragon, the largest of the pack, spread its wings, sending a gust of snow that nearly knocked Kalen over. He gritted his teeth, planting his boots firmly. Running was not an option. Moving too fast could trigger a deadly attack. Instead, he took a deep breath and raised his hands slightly, keeping them open. Calm. Confident. Human courage and determination radiated through him. A sudden howl split the storm. The unknown creature had returned. Its shadow streaked across the ridge, moving fast and low. Kalen's pulse spiked. He had no weapon, no cover, only his wits and the fragile hatchling. He ducked instinctively as a flurry of snow sprayed across his back. The alpha dragon hissed and swung its massive tail. Kalen rolled into a shallow snowbank, heart hammering. The hatchling whimpered, but he held it tight. He realized he had to make a choice: flee with the hatchling and abandon the chance to calm the dragons, or stay and risk death. His mind raced, calculating probabilities, risks, and potential outcomes. Humans had survived worse, not because of strength but because of intelligence. He could not run, not yet. Not when hope was flickering so close. Kalen's eyes flicked back to the shimmer. He needed to get closer. He edged forward, slow and careful, testing the dragon's reactions. One small misstep, one sign of fear, and the entire pack could attack. But he moved with purpose, demonstrating control. The alpha's gaze never left him, but the hesitation in its movements suggested that Kalen's courage might be reaching through its grief. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck a nearby ridge, sending a shockwave through the storm. Snow and ice fell around them. The alpha dragon reared back in surprise, wings beating furiously, but the smaller dragon, the one closest to Kalen, stood its ground. Kalen seized the moment. He lowered himself slightly, speaking softly, "We're not enemies. We can fix this. You'll see." His words carried sincerity, empathy, and determination, the human qualities the dragons could sense even without understanding language. The storm's roar grew louder, stronger. The wind tried to push him back, the unknown creature's presence pressed against him like a heavy weight, and the dragon's grief was still raw and dangerous. Yet Kalen kept moving, inching closer to the shimmer. He extended one hand, fingers brushing the icy glow. It pulsed stronger under his touch, a tiny warmth cutting through the cold. The dragons paused. The smallest one stepped forward, sniffing Kalen's hand. Another hesitation, another micro payoff. Kalen whispered to the hatchling, "See? It's okay. They're listening." The storm still raged, but for a heartbeat there was connection. The human mind, the human courage was making a difference. Then the alpha dragon's roar split the air again, louder, sharper, filled with a mix of anger and sorrow. Kalen froze. The unknown shadow on the ridge shifted again, larger now, more defined. Whatever it was moving toward them, and the dragons reacted instantly, circling tighter around the hatchling. He could feel the surge of tension, the electricity in the air. One wrong move and everything could collapse. Kalen's breath came fast. He knew the choice he made next would determine survival or death. His hands tightened around the hatchling. He could not let fear decide. He could not run. He had to act. And then, as the creature edged closer and the alpha's wings stretched wide, something unexpected happened. The shimmer pulsed again, brighter this time, casting a faint glow across the dragon's scales. Their motion slowed. The grief still lingered, but curiosity flickered in their eyes. Kalen swallowed, heart racing. He had bought himself time, but the storm was far from over. He lifted his voice over the wind, low but firm, steadying the hatchling in his arms. "We can get through this. Together." The dragons froze, their eyes on him, the small glow beneath the snow, and the approaching shadow on the ridge. Kalen realized in that moment that the next few seconds could change everything. Survival was no longer just about running. It was about courage, understanding, and quick thinking. And then the shadow moved faster, and a shape broke free from the snow, something massive, with eyes that glimmered in the storm. The shadow resolved into a massive shape, towering over the ridge like a moving mountain. Kalen's eyes widened. Its scales glimmered faintly in the snow, darker than the dragon's but edged with an unnatural shimmer. Its eyes glowed an icy blue, intelligent and calculating. This was no ordinary predator. This was something ancient, something the world had never seen before. The alpha dragon hissed sharply, wings flexing, tail lashing, but it held its ground. Kalen felt the hatchling squirming weakly against him. He whispered, "Stay still. Trust me." His words were barely audible over the storm, but the tone carried calm determination. The human courage he projected seemed to reach the dragons, slowing their aggression. The massive creature stepped closer. Each footfall cracked the ice beneath it like thunder. Kalen instinctively took a step back, but the hatchling's life depended on him. He clenched his jaw. Humans survived impossible odds by thinking, not running. He scanned the snow at his feet and remembered the glowing shimmer beneath him. The artifact. Whatever it was, it had drawn the dragon's attention earlier. Maybe it could influence this creature too. Kalen set the hatchling gently into the shallow snowbank, keeping his hands ready to grab it instantly. Then he crouched low and reached toward the crystalline shimmer. The moment his fingers touched it, a pulse ran through his arm, warm and strange. The glow intensified, casting patterns on the dragon's scales. Their postures softened, wings lowering slightly. The massive creature froze mid-step, eyes fixed on the glowing pattern. Kalen's mind raced. He didn't understand the artifact, but instinct told him it was a key, a bridge. The dragons were reacting, and maybe so was the giant creature. He took a steadying breath, then extended his hand further, letting the light wash over him. The dragons sniffed the air, watching. Their grief was still raw, but curiosity flickered in their eyes. The small dragon that had been closest to him earlier stepped forward cautiously. Kalen spoke in a calm, low voice, "It's okay. We mean no harm." He wasn't sure if it understood, but tone mattered. Empathy mattered. Humans could reach others through courage and care. The alpha dragon lowered its head slightly. The massive creature shifted, tilting its head as if assessing him. Then a sharp gust of wind revealed more of the artifact buried under the snow, a jagged crystalline structure larger than he thought. Ice and snow had hidden most of it. As he moved closer, the artifact hummed softly, pulsing in rhythm with the small hatchling's heartbeat. Kalen's eyes widened. The energy seemed to connect the dragons, the hatchling, and possibly even the approaching creature. The alpha dragon growled softly. Kalen froze. He realized that the dragons were not only mourning, they were reacting to something powerful buried beneath the snow. The artifact was influencing them. He could see the grief giving way to focus, attention drawn by the pulses of energy. One small moment of clarity, one human action, was beginning to shift the balance. The massive creature let out a low, resonant sound. The dragons froze. Kalen realized it was a call, a signal, a language he couldn't understand but could interpret through pattern and reaction. The creature circled slowly, watching him, the hatchling, and the dragons. His heart pounded. Any misstep could provoke it, but so far it seemed curious, not hostile. He glanced down at the hatchling, then at the artifact. The pulse of light seemed to strengthen the hatchling slightly, and its small eyes blinked open. Kalen whispered, "See? You're safe." The dragons, too, were moving slower now, hesitation in their steps. One small, careful step forward by the Alpha, and Kalen mirrored it, slow, deliberate, showing no aggression. The massive creature crouched slightly, lowering itself to the snow, and Kalen saw something unexpected. Its wings flickered with an almost imperceptible shimmer, like it was responding to the artifact. The dragons began to circle more loosely, tension easing. Kalen's mind raced. The artifact wasn't just influencing behavior, it was connecting the living beings around it. The pulse of energy, combined with his calm presence, was bridging instinct and reason. A sudden crack of ice sounded beneath him, and the storm gusted violently. Kalen stumbled but stayed upright. One of the smaller dragons hissed, "Wary." The Alpha shifted, wings snapping once sharply, but then froze again. Kalen realized he had a chance. He stepped closer to the hatchling, kneeling gently, hands open to both the dragons and the artifact. His voice was firm but soothing, "Trust me. We can help each other." For a moment, silence. The storm seemed to pause. The dragons lowered their heads further. The massive creature's eyes blinked slowly, almost in acknowledgement. Kalen reached out, letting the glow of the artifact wash over his hands, over the hatchling. It pulsed once more, stronger. The dragon stepped back slightly, the Alpha closest to him, while the smaller ones hovered, still tense but attentive. Kalen's chest heaved. He had bought himself time, and more than that, he had begun to earn trust. The hatchling's weak movements grew steadier. One dragon, the smallest, nuzzled the snow near him, testing his calm. Kalen smiled briefly, the first genuine one since he had entered the storm. Courage, empathy, intelligence, they were making a difference. Then, without warning, the massive creature emitted a sound like wind through hollow stone. The dragons froze again, eyes wide. The pulse of the artifact shifted, glowing brighter and spreading outward. Kalen realized, this was not just a momentary truce. The artifact might reveal a deeper secret, something ancient, something that connected dragons, humans, and creatures older than memory. He glanced at the Alpha dragon, then at the hatchling nestled in the snow. Every choice, every heartbeat had led to this fragile trust. But the storm was far from over, and the unknown creature's intentions remained a mystery. Kalen tightened his grip on the hatchling, whispered, "Whatever happens next, we'll face it together." And then, the shimmer beneath the snow flared violently, brighter than before, sending an eerie glow across the storm and the dragon's scales. The massive creature froze, its glowing eyes fixed on Kalen. The hatchling whimpered, but the pulse seemed to soothe it slightly. Kalen knew instinctively, the next moments would determine survival, understanding, and perhaps the future of the dragons themselves. Something was about to happen, something bigger than any of them could yet imagine. The storm roared like a living thing, snow ripping at Kalen's coat and lashing against his face. His legs burned from exhaustion, and the hatchling trembled against his chest. He knew the dragon's grief could erupt into violence at any second, and the massive creature's glowing eyes tracked him like a predator studying prey. But running wasn't an option. Survival depended on courage, quick thinking, and complete focus. Kalen took a deep breath, feeling the pulse of the artifact under his fingertips. Its warmth spread through him, almost like it recognized his intent. He lifted his head and locked eyes with the Alpha dragon. Its gaze was sharp, filled with pain, suspicion, and lingering rage. The smaller dragons watched, tense and ready to strike. And the massive creature shifted closer, wings stretching, its icy glow painting the storm in eerie light. He stepped forward, keeping his hands raised, careful not to startle them. "I'm not your enemy," he called over the wind, voice steady despite his pounding heart. The Alpha hissed, tail lashing, but didn't attack. One small, dangerous step after another, Kalen advanced, placing the hatchling gently onto the patch of snow near the artifact. Its tiny eyes blinked, weak but alive. The dragons froze. Then the massive creature growled low, a deep vibration that rattled the snow beneath their feet. Kalen's heart skipped. The sound carried intelligence, almost like a warning. The artifact pulsed again, and Kalen felt a strange resonance, as though the energy was responding to his own determination. He realized instinctively, the artifact could amplify trust, or fear. One wrong move, and it might trigger aggression from every creature around him. Lightning split the sky. The storm surged. The dragons flinched. The massive creature tensed, wings opening wider. Kalen's mind raced. He had seconds to act. He crouched slightly, lowering his weight, and spread his hands over the artifact. "Calm," he murmured, voice firm, projecting confidence and care. The artifact pulsed stronger, bathing the dragons and the hatchling in soft, steady light. A micro-moment of success. The smallest dragon stepped forward, sniffing Kalen's boots. Hesitation gave way to curiosity. Another step. The alpha dragon lowered its head slightly, smoke curling from its nostrils. Kalen's chest tightened with relief, but he didn't relax. The massive creature had not yet moved, its glowing eyes fixed on him. Suddenly, a gust of wind slammed into Kalen, throwing him backward. He grabbed the hatchling, rolling into a snowbank, heart hammering. The alpha dragon lunged toward the disturbance, wings snapping. Kalen froze, calculating quickly. He had to maintain calm, show no fear. He slowly extended one hand toward the dragon, letting the artifact's glow spread across his arm. The alpha stopped mid-lunge, head cocked, wings lowering ever so slightly. Kalen's mind clicked. This was not about force. It was about connection. He spoke softly, "I can help. You can trust me." The dragons hesitated, circling more loosely. The artifact pulsed again, brighter this time, its light reflecting off the ice crystals in the storm. The massive creature froze, almost as if startled by the resonance. Kalen's heart pounded. He was threading a needle between life and death. Then the unexpected happened. One of the smaller dragons, previously anxious, nuzzled the hatchling gently. A spark of hope ignited in Kalen's chest. He whispered encouragement, keeping his voice calm but firm, letting his courage radiate. The artifact responded, pulsing rhythmically as though recognizing his intent. He realized it was more than a tool. It was a bridge between him and these creatures, connecting their instincts to his human reasoning. A sudden crack of ice echoed nearby. The massive creature shifted, wings beating a gust that threw Kalen off balance. He clutched the hatchling, rolling with the wind to stay upright. The alpha hissed sharply, warning its pack. But Kalen didn't retreat. He stood firm, gaze unwavering, voice steady over the roar. "We can get through this. Together." For a tense heartbeat, nothing moved. Then, slowly, the alpha lowered its head completely. The smaller dragons followed, one by one. Kalen exhaled quietly. The hatchling whimpered but remained still, sensing safety. He stepped closer, carefully, and rested a hand on the snow near the artifact, letting the glow wash over him and the dragons. A silent connection passed through the group, fragile but real. The massive creature blinked slowly. Its posture relaxed slightly, though the glowing eyes never left Kalen. The storm raged, but the threat had lessened, for now. Kalen's mind raced. The artifact had helped calm the dragons, perhaps even the unknown creature. But its true power, its origin, remained a mystery. Something ancient was at work, something that could change everything. Lightning struck again, closer this time, sending a shockwave across the ice. Kalen's balance wavered. The alpha hissed once, but instead of attacking, it stepped back, wings folding. Kalen saw a flicker of understanding in its eyes, a recognition of his courage, intelligence, and empathy. He knelt, gathering the hatchling in his arms again. The artifact pulsed gently beneath him, steady now, as if acknowledging their fragile truce. A sudden hum echoed from the artifact. Kalen looked down. The glow spread, revealing more crystalline patterns beneath the snow. The massive creature froze, eyes wide, almost cautious. Kalen realized the artifact was not just a key to calming grief, it was a link to a larger secret, something ancient, powerful, and far beyond what he had imagined. He tightened his grip on the hatchling. He had won a momentary victory, but the storm still raged, the dragons still grieved, and the mysterious creature still loomed. Survival had required courage and intelligence, but understanding this artifact, understanding what it truly was, would require more than that. Kalen glanced at the dragons, then at the creature, then back to the hatchling. His voice was low, calm, resolute. "We've made it this far, but this is only the beginning." The artifact pulsed once more, brighter than ever, lighting the storm with an eerie glow. The massive creature shifted forward, wings spreading, a low, resonant growl vibrating through the ice. Kalen knew instinctively, the real challenge was just about to begin. The storm still roared, but Kalen felt a change in the air. The dragon's circling had slowed, the alpha's wings now folding gently against its massive body. The small hatchling squirmed weakly in his arms but no longer cried. The massive creature loomed at the ridge, its glowing eyes fixed on him, yet its posture was hesitant, almost cautious. Kalen's heart pounded, not with fear but with the thrill of survival and understanding. He knelt carefully, keeping his movements deliberate, showing no aggression. "It's okay," he whispered, voice steady, the kind of calm that humans could wield even in the face of impossible odds. He set the hatchling down on the snow near the artifact, letting its tiny claws dig into the surface. The dragons watched, and even the massive creature seemed intrigued rather than hostile. The artifact pulsed once more, bright and rhythmic, as if responding to the calm he projected. Kalen realized the connection was not just to the creatures, it was to the intentions behind actions. Courage, empathy, intelligence, these were signals the artifact recognized. Humans were capable of something these dragons had never encountered: deliberate morality and protective intent. The smallest dragon stepped closer first, cautiously sniffing the hatchling. Kalen held his breath, but the dragon made no threatening move. Its body relaxed slightly. One by one, the other dragons mirrored the behavior, approaching the small life he had fought to protect. The alpha's massive head lowered until its snout almost touched the hatchling. Kalen's chest tightened with emotion. The creature's grief had softened, replaced with cautious trust. A deep, resonant sound echoed from the massive creature at the ridge. Kalen flinched but stayed still, hands open, steadying himself. Then it did something astonishing. It crouched slightly, wings folding just enough to appear less threatening. The glow from its eyes dimmed, and the pulse from the artifact seemed to sync with the creature's breathing. Kalen realized that, for the first time, it was not an enemy, it was observing, learning, and perhaps judging. He knelt fully, letting the hatchling crawl slightly toward the dragons. They nudged it gently with noses and claws, careful not to hurt it. Kalen's heart swelled. The small victories, the hatchling surviving, the dragons calming, the massive creature not attacking, were proof of something fundamental. Human determination, empathy, and courage could bridge the impossible. Kalen whispered softly, "We're all connected. We can protect each other." The dragons and the mysterious creature didn't understand the words, but the intent carried. The artifact pulsed brighter, almost like a heartbeat, and a faint warmth spread through the snow beneath them. The storm continued, but the tension in the air shifted. Survival was no longer a desperate fight, it was a fragile truce. The hatchling blinked up at Kalen, then at the dragons. One tiny claw reached out, brushing against the snow where the alpha had lowered its head. A small hiss of acknowledgement came from the dragon, soft and almost approving. Kalen's chest tightened again. This moment, fleeting and delicate, was a payoff for all his courage and intelligence. The human spirit shining in a world of creatures far larger and stronger than him. Then the artifact pulsed one last time, sending a ripple through the ice. The glow spread farther than before, faintly illuminating the massive creature fully for the first time. Kalen saw intricate patterns on its scales, almost like runes or ancient markings. Something deep and old lived in that being, older than the dragons, older than human memory. The realization hit him. This was not just a survival challenge. It was the beginning of something far larger. The dragons settled around the hatchling, their grief transformed into cautious protection. The alpha let out a low rumble, almost a growl of approval, before stepping back slightly. Kalen scooped up the hatchling again, feeling its tiny heartbeat steady in his hands. He glanced at the massive creature. Its eyes glimmered once more, then slowly, it turned away, retreating toward the ridge. The wind carried the faintest echo of its presence, a whisper of intelligence and power. Kalen exhaled, relief flooding through him. The hatchling was safe, the dragons were calm, and for now the massive creature had not attacked. The storm still raged around them, but the impossible odds had been met, and overcome, through human courage, intelligence, and compassion. He stood slowly, holding the hatchling close, looking at the dragons circling gently in the snow. "We did it," he said softly, almost in disbelief. The dragons responded with soft huffs and nudges, acknowledging his presence without hostility. Kalen felt a surge of pride, not in strength or weapons, but in human determination and the ability to inspire trust in the face of overwhelming danger. The artifact shimmered faintly beneath the snow, its purpose still mysterious, its power undeniable. Kalen realized that he had uncovered only a fragment of its potential. Whatever it was alive in its own way, waiting to reveal more, and somehow, it had recognized the human capacity for courage and moral action. As the storm began to wane slightly, Kalen scanned the horizon. The massive creature had disappeared beyond the ridge, leaving only the faint glow of the artifact and the dragons around him. He hugged the hatchling tightly, whispering reassurances. Survival had been won, but the mystery of the artifact, the dragons, and the ancient creature remained. Something larger was at work, something he could not yet fully understand. Kalen's eyes narrowed, determination flaring. He would protect the hatchling, he would learn the secrets of the artifact, and he would face whatever came next. The world was dangerous and the stakes were enormous, but humans had the courage, intelligence, and empathy to rise above impossible odds. And somewhere beyond the snowstorm, a faint pulse echoed, like a heartbeat calling him forward. A new challenge, a greater mystery awaited. Kalen adjusted the hatchling in his arms, eyes fixed on the horizon. "This isn't over," he whispered. "It's only the beginning. The hatchling is safe, dragons are calm, but the artifact's full power and the mysterious creature's purpose remain unknown." Viewer is left asking, what secrets does the artifact hold? Will Kalen uncover the ancient creature's intentions? What challenges lie ahead in this frozen, mysterious world?